Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug Show. Today we're going to look at keywords and keyword research. The thumbnail that I created says find keywords that rank. Hopefully they rank. We're going to look at a tool called KWFinder, which is one of my favorites. And we're going to look at some of the other tools over at Mangools tools. And they have a deal. Right? So I haven't done a video with them in a little while, but they have a deal, 35% off, and you can lock in that discount. It's a good tool, and I actually personally use it, so I'm happy to recommend it. And like I said, it's a whole suite of tools, so we'll take a look at that. Of course, we will answer some questions if you have any, and just have like a little update here in general. So let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Say hello. I want to point out a couple recent videos. So I published a podcast episode yesterday, and the question that I posed was, can you actually recover a site that was hit in the helpful content update or the recent algorithm update? Of course, we only have a very small amount of time to look at it, but the thing is, these updates were a little bit more impactful than some recent updates over the last couple of years. And I mean, it depends on your site, whether or not it impacted you, but we have generally heard the same kind of advice over and over again where, you look at some of the technical aspects of your site, you look at your speed, right? Does it load? Does the site load? Is it fast? Do you have any weird things going on that makes the site load slower, huge images? Is there some issue, some malware or something like that? So of course, fix the technical stuff. The other advice is to have the best content you possibly can have, high quality, expert level advice, publish often, have good internal linking. There's a handful of things. You can Google it. There's a million videos on it. There's guides, there's courses, there's a lot of people that'll give you advice. And generally that is fine advice, but will it actually help you recover your site? So I published that video yesterday. Do check it out. I called for the audience to send me an email to let me know if you had a positive impact from the update or if you were able to recover in this short amount of time. Of course, there's probably going to be a December update rolling through. The cool thing, 2 people at least sent me an email. One of them looked like they got hit by the updates and they bounced up and down, and I'll share more information. I'm double checking with the folks to make sure that it's okay that I share a general summary of their story. But someone, it looks like their site was hit, and at the end, after they bounced around, they ended up with more traffic. Their site's growing. The other person, it looks like they're getting a slow recovery, but they're doing something very specific, which is a new thing. It's a new approach that seems viable to check out. So that was one, and I'm going to pop over and say hello to David, one of the fine moderators. Hey, David. Good to see you. And we also have Jeremy Jacobs, who can hear me well. Everything's going good here today. It's still a little chilly here in Colorado. We got a decent amount of snow back on Thanksgiving evening for a day and a half or so. So there's still snow around. It's not on the streets or anything, but there's still snow in the grass and fields and stuff like that. Still a little bit chilly, but it's pretty nice and sunny, and Mohammed is here as well. All right, the other thing that I published was a segment. This was on Sunday. It's a short segment from a long interview that I did with Tony Maritato. That episode will be coming out in about a week. I published a short segment of how he's using ChatGPT for expert level content. So he's using ChatGPT. He's feeding in medical and journal peer-reviewed articles from medical journals. Then he's putting in his own input. He's asking ChatGPT to interview him as an expert, which he is in the subject area. And then the content is written, sometimes with quotes, but it is written with the inputs that he wants to include and not anything else. So he knows the information is accurate from the medical journals, and then he adds in his own information. So it is just about as authentic as you can get it without writing it yourself, and it speeds the process. So he's writing 1,500 to 2,000 words within about an hour or so using this process. Really smart, especially the interview portion, and he's using like voice typing to make it faster. So he'll get the list of questions from ChatGPT. He'll put them in like a Google Doc or whatever he's typing in. He'll use voice chat or voice typing, and then he'll be able to just speak his answers. It doesn't have to be perfect grammar. It could be a little bit scattered, stream of consciousness, and then ChatGPT will clean it up when he feeds it back in. So a couple manual things, but overall pretty automated, and it's faster than writing it out or, having to type everything out and then put it into, basically you're just writing a long document at that point. So check those out. I know a couple people filtered in here, so we're going to hop over to KWFinder and just kind of play around with the tool. Again, they have a good deal going. There's actually more Cyber Monday deals going on. So I believe there's a link in the description here. I purchased a couple things here and there, things that I have used in the past and wanted to, use them again in the future. The details don't matter, but I only bought things that I actually will use and will use in the future. So it's pretty useful. Let's hop over to the tool and see what's going on. All right, here we go. So it's KWFinder, and pretty standard. A lot of these keyword research tools work very similar. So let's see, what am I interested in these days? Or if anyone has a recommendation, but I'm uncreative. So I'm like looking for things that are around me. I see a journal nearby. So how about we'll put in bullet journal, and we'll look in the US in English, but I think it would probably default to that anyway. And we'll just say find keywords. So it'll take a minute or two to work, and we're starting with a very competitive keyword. Bullet journal gets about 61,000 searches per month, and the keyword difficulty is about 51, which is fairly difficult. It is a general term, but we will go more narrow and we'll look at essentially long tail keywords, which is where I spend most of my time anyway. And I'll describe some of the stuff, some of the dashboard that we have here. And we have Divas, what's going on? You're a big fan of the work. Thank you. I appreciate it. And Marcus, how's it going? So we have the specific keyword over here on the left side, and we have a list of related keywords. There are 700 here. We have the trend data, which is very helpful. It looks like, at least for right now, the bullet journal is on a sort of a downward trend. But if we dive in a little closer, we see that it was very popular in like 2019, and then it fell off a cliff right around a little before COVID. So I'm looking over here at the full trend line for this specific keyword. And as we go down, I think we're probably going to see at the beginning of the year, it's very popular, or December, people are trying to get their life in order. January, they're still hanging on. And of course, all hope is lost by February because everybody quits their journals, or they stop going to the gym and they fall into their old bad habits. It's a little dark, but unfortunately true. And you can see it in the trend data right here. So anyway, bullet journals are a little bit less popular because I don't know why. It's interesting. I guess it was kind of a new thing, and then as it got more popular, then it was saturation. Okay, as we scroll down, we see some related keywords, which we'll take a look at soon. On the right side here, we see the deep dive for just the bullet journal keyword. And if we were, we go back over on the left panel, we could select other keywords to do the deep dive. But for now, let's just look at bullet journal. So we have the KD, which is the keyword difficulty, and then we have the SERP analysis here. And this is one of the best features for analyzing data. A lot of tools will do something similar, or if you use, Ahrefs or SEMrush, they'll have a portion of the data. But here in the SERP overview, we have the domain authority. So we have the domain authority right here. We have the page authority. We have the citation flow, the trust flow, the number of links to the specific page, the Facebook shares, and we have the LPS, which is a link profile strength. And that's a proprietary piece of metric. Basically, it's how strong are the links. So it's probably number of links and where they come from. And then we have the EV, which is the estimated visitors per month on that page based on the SERP position. So most of the visitors most of the searchers will go to the very first result, and then it kind of diminishes as you go down. It drops off a cliff. Marcus does ask a question here regarding the KD, the keyword difficulty. I've noticed different tools show different numbers. For example, the same keyword shows KD of 30, and then another tool shows 60. How can we verify this? It's all over the place. Great question. And overall, it's what tool has the most accurate data? The answer is, I don't know, and no one else knows either. It's so unsatisfying, but it's the right answer. It depends on the niche. I think certain tools will be more accurate. So really the best thing to do, in my opinion, is pick a tool, just use that tool, use it really well, forget about all the other tools out there unless you need to solve another problem. Once you use the KD number and the other metrics listed on a specific tool, and you have some data for your specific site and your specific niche, for the age of your site, the number of links, the authority, your specific site, you'll be able to have a little more confidence in the numbers that it delivers. All that said, the only people that might know would be folks like Kyle Roof or the testing area in Internet Marketing Gold, which I think I actually have a link to that. I'm an affiliate for all the stuff that I'm mentioning, which is clearly noted if you follow the link in the show notes and all that stuff. It would be an agency, or it would be someone like Kyle who's literally running tests and trying to figure out like what is the most accurate. And my hunch is there'll be certain industries where one company is more accurate than the other, or the competitiveness level of the overall industry. And when it comes down to it, I don't know the answer to it. And if anyone's super confident about it, they should be able to back it up with a lot of data, and they should be able to back it up just like Kyle does over at Internet Marketing Gold. Kyle Roof, interviewed him a few weeks ago. He will not only run the test to get the conclusion, right? He'll do the negative test. So he will look at the inverse and be pretty confident with statistical analysis that the answer is correct. So anyway, I made that much longer. I'm not sure. This one seems pretty good to me, but other tools will give different answers, and it's hard to tell because all sites are a little bit different. So that's the general that's what's happening here. As I mentioned, bullet journal is very competitive, but there will be specific keywords that are long tail that'll be much easier to rank and approachable for most people. Brand new websites included. And they make it easy. They use the standard yellow, green, red system, or green, yellow, red. Green is under 30, and it's a little bit easier. I think there's even a darker, deeper green that is very low competition. I'm not sure if it's like under 20, and those are the ones where there's very little competition. You will notice most of the time, but not always, the higher search volumes will have a higher difficulty. They're more competitive. As you go to the long tail keywords, the searches are 10 or 20 per month, less people are going after them, and those are less competitive. So it doesn't always correlate, but it's pretty strong. One thing I will point out, you can see over here that we're looking at the SERP overview. It's a lot more competitive generally, but there is one site. It does have a DA of 48, but the link profile strength is 29. So you can see it's a little, I mean, they're not all super number of backlinks. There's not a lot of backlinks for each one of these necessarily. And then as we go down, we see Matt Raglan here. That's funny. I just emailed him today. I don't know Matt yet, but I'm probably going to have him on the show. But I found him through like bullet journal stuff over on YouTube. But you can see his site is an outlier, and he's been able to rank top 13. And he probably ranks for some cool long tail keywords here, but basically there's not as many links here. And it's a DA of 31, which is, that's nothing that's impressive, especially it's able to compete. The thing is, Matt has a ton of reach over on the YouTube side. I think he has a couple of videos with like over 1 million views. Okay, so let's try to find something in the bullet journal area that's not so competitive. So one thing we can do is filter, right? So we could filter on maybe lower search volume. We can just look at KD values and see what we come up with. So let's turn on a filter, and we'll look at maybe just the keyword difficulty with a max of, we'll say 30, and we'll set the filter, and we'll just see what happens here. Okay, so it filtered, and we ended up getting rid of, it looks like about 90 of them. So most of these are indeed long tail keywords. You will notice that some of them are sort of grayed out. So that means it hasn't been calculated in the KD number area. I'm going to zoom in here. So you can refresh it just by clicking on it. So the last time it was calculated was June the 10th. And, well, it kicked off the list. So it got more competitive. Let's try it again with this one here. So pre-made bullet journal. So July 4th was the last time the KD number of 10 was calculated. So I'll click on that. It should refresh. I bet it'll be higher. Oh, no, it's 6. It's only 6. And like I mentioned, it's a deep dive over on the other panel over here. So we can see the trend line. We can see it's a 6 out of 10. So it's actually quite easy. 300 people per month search for it, though. When we take a look at the results, we see it is quite approachable. So we have Etsy. We have your Bujo, which I guess is bullet journal, right? And we have Amazon results, a couple Amazon results, some other stuff here. But essentially, it seems very approachable, and the link profile strength is extremely low for these. So if someone was interested in getting into the bullet journal space, there are even though it looks very competitive, you can go kind of deep and find some ideas just by looking at the KD number. Of course, you would want to do some other analysis and stuff like that. These are, some are like very commercial driven. There's very little how-to, which we'll take a look at. But how-to content is it's very good. It's often not as competitive, but not always. And I'm hopping back in the chat here just to see what's going on. Board of the Lord says, I use KWFinder. It saves so much time. So that's great. All right. And Marcus says, so maybe it's not worth investing in Ahrefs, SEMrush, or other expensive tools. Potentially, it is fine to invest in those tools, but they're not perfect, and you need to have a specific reason to use them. I know Ahrefs has raised prices over the years, and I was chatting with a friend the other day, and he said that he stopped using Ahrefs and he's using SEMrush now. I don't know if it was a cost thing or anything like that, but anyway, all the tools I think can be worthwhile. Mohammed says he thinks Moz gives the right number for the KD, and weird thing, right? Moz was kind of like the industry standard for many years, and then Ahrefs like blew him out of the water. I think Moz took on some VC funding or some private equity or something like that, and then it didn't do as well. And literally, I haven't heard anyone use Moz in a long time. I don't think I know anyone that uses Moz. That said, it could be perfectly accurate. I just don't know. All right, and we have Mariska. I think I'm saying it right, from the Netherlands. Good to see you. Oh, there's quite a Dutch contingent. All right. That's cool. Diva says, is the VPN niche too competitive? Probably so. It's one of those things, if you have to ask, then yes, it's too competitive. It is too competitive. All right. Board of the Lord says, I've noticed the keyword difficulty swing by 10 back and forth from month to month on KWFinder. I haven't noticed that personally, but what I would suggest is this might be a symptom from algorithm updates. So as Google is shuffling things around, really fucking up the SERPs, right? You're going to have sites that have like totally different metrics. So the KD number, the keyword difficulty, is driven based on the metrics of the specific URLs that are ranking. So if those get shuffled around, then the KD is going to go all over the place too. So that makes sense to me. I haven't noticed it personally, but to be fair, I haven't looked in a little while. So let's keep a look in here and see if we could find some others. So if it's grayed out, it hasn't been calculated in a little while, and it will tell you the last time it was calculated. Sometimes it's months. That said, if you see the little magnifying glass, it means you could search for it. It hasn't been calculated maybe ever, or at least not in a long time, but the data's not in there, but you can click it and get more information. So I will try to find one that seems more interesting. So spiral dotted notebook, 240 searches per month. I'll click on it and it was filtered out, it looks like, or at least it got shuffled down. So I'm not sure where that went. So, okay, so it's a 33. I see it up here, even though it's shuffled down. So 33, it's filtered out. So it's actually high and it just wasn't calculated, which is why it ended up on our list here. So let's keep scrolling down. So here's Bullet Journal 160 GSM, which is the weight of the paper. So it's a very thick paper. And 20 searches per month. These are probably like more expensive. So I'm gonna click on this to do the deep dive, and we see it's an 18 as far as keyword difficulty. We see the results over here. And again, you see a lot of green for the link profile strength. Here is a specific site, which might actually be an e-commerce site, but it only has a DA of 11. The point being, it seems to be fairly approachable from the perspective of just being able to rank. Okay, so let's look a little bit deeper into what we'll call like commercially driven. So let's say you want to promote these as an affiliate. We'll go back to the filter, and one of the best things you could look for is to include the keyword best. So this does go back to just traditional affiliate marketing keyword research. So I'll set the filter, and many of these should be filtered out. These are just pure commercially driven kind of keywords. And now we only have 18 left. So you could see quickly, like we had hundreds initially. That's way too many. It's a little it's hard to analyze all those. You don't know where to start. So these are getting much more approachable and very specific. So here's an interesting one. So best bullet journal for ADHD. And it looks like we have 10 searches per month. It's actually a little bit competitive at 32, but it is very specific, which seems pretty good. This is something I would probably look a little bit deeper and see what the results look like if they're actually targeting the specific keyword. It looks like they probably are based on the URL, and you could just click right on the result here, and it'll open the result in a tab, so you could actually take a look. So you could do your keyword research and kind of competition analysis and look to see if it's worth approaching right from the dashboard. So we'll pop back here. That one doesn't look like a promising one. Let's see, best bullet journal for iPad. So 10 searches per month. I bet that's fairly competitive too, but let's see. So that's a 40. Pretty tough. So best GSM, again, that's the weight of the paper for bullet journal. 10 searches per month, and we have a 28. So a lot of these are still pretty tough. So best online bullet journal. Let's see, I bet that's competitive too. Yep, 35. And by the way, so we're looking at the keyword competitive number here. Just because it's not in the green area, it doesn't mean you shouldn't go after it, right? It's just a metric. And one thing that I have emphasized in the past, off and on, but I haven't mentioned it today, is if you have a long enough timeline, then the competition level doesn't matter quite as much. If you're thinking, hey, I'm going to work on this for several years. I am passionate about this topic. I'm a bullet journaler. It's a lifestyle. You're into it. You talk to your friends about it. You listen to podcasts about bullet journaling and all this stuff. And you know that you are very interested and you're going to work on the site for a few years. You don't have to worry about the competition level as much. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy to rank for it, but it means over time you might be able to rank for it. And if you take a multi-platform approach, let's say you already have a site. If you start a podcast and a YouTube channel that go along with the topic, then you can really elevate your whole brand across platforms and network and all the things that we talk about often. If it's the first time that you're joining today, welcome. But I'm very enthusiastic about working on different platforms and networking. And by the way, this is something I haven't mentioned in relation, but you can interview folks, right? So you can get expert level opinion, and you can get that content for your website, and you could have a podcast and a YouTube channel, just record all at the same time using the same software that I'm using here, right? I use Ecamm. And then you can really build the relationships so you're part of the industry. So if you go to a conference, people will remember, hey, you have that show. They've seen you on YouTube or something like that. And you'll be able to potentially have partnerships, but at least you know some people when you go to a conference. The thing that I haven't mentioned is you will probably, especially if you put yourself out there, if you're speaking and you're presenting on a podcast or YouTube, there's a good chance the conference will have you speak there. You may have to pitch for it. You may have to give a proposal. Sometimes you have to be invited, but if maybe you make contact with people that have been a speaker at that conference before, maybe you interviewed them for your show, and then you ask to be introduced to the organizer of that conference, right? So there's a way in just because you had a show. And by the way, not that many people have to listen to the show or watch the channel. If you're producing high quality content, I think most people realize the barrier to even start, but they also realize the barrier to grow. So you don't have to have huge numbers if you're able to communicate an idea well. In fact, I was going to say I bumped into a lot of people at a recent conference where they were presenting, but they had very small channels or very small podcasts where it looked like they produced it for a couple of years and then they stopped and they're working on something else for whatever reason. So just because it's competitive doesn't mean that you shouldn't go after it. It just means it's a little bit different. You need to have a longer timeline. All right, so a couple questions in here. Shorts says, which AI content is performing best? I don't know. Do you mean like which tool out there is performing best? And even if you answer that question, I don't know the answer. I don't test all the tools out there. I test very few of them. I primarily use ChatGPT and Claude. So very basic, and I'm not publishing on like a grand scale. I would recommend checking out my interview with Shauna Newman, who is spending a lot more time on AI content. And in the interview, she mentions a site where she's not even proofreading. She's just literally publishing as quickly as she can, and is actually, sadly, doing really well. Mohammed says, it's been good to take an idea for the correct KD of keywords. We have to explore SERP results and check backlinks profiles. Then we can say if it's hard or easy to rank with a KD of a keyword. Yeah, it's good to look a little bit deeper. It's a nice way to sort of filter. So we looked at some very, very highly keyword purchase intent kind of keywords here. So let's go back to the filter, and instead of best, let's look for how to. So these will traditionally be your informational type topics. The thing is, for a bullet journal, you will often find that if someone's looking for a how-to, they're probably in the market for the specific item. So it does look like we're not getting anything to show up here. So let me change this. So we have how to. Let me make sure. We'll take out the keyword difficulty and see. So we're still not getting anything to come up, which seems unusual, but it could have just been the sample of keywords that we were looking at. So we'll just turn this off for now. So we'll do bullet journal, and then we'll do questions. See what we come up with. So these are questions about bullet journaling, and we have 71. So we don't get the same volume, but there's still quite a few to look at. So how much are bullet journals? How much do they cost? How far apart are the dots? That's interesting. So 10 searches per month. That's a 27. 27. We do see Reddit ranks first, and there's just some random other sites, but a lot of bullet journal ideas, and there's a couple YouTube videos as well. So let's keep scrolling down and see if we find anything interesting here. how to bullet journal in OneNote. So that has 17 for a KD and a search volume of 10. Okay, so there's a lot of options here, but just demonstrating that you can look and use the questions here. So that's kind of cool. And one thing we could do, let's go back. Actually, I don't want to get lost in here. I was going to try to go back to a specific website, but I can't remember what it was. So one thing we'll do is we'll take a look at some of the other like tools at Mangools. So we'll go to the free domain authority checker, which is the SEO authority of a domain. So let's take a look at my site, Niche Site Project. And let me just do a quick copy and paste to make it a little faster. So we'll analyze the website and see what's going on. All right, so it has a domain authority of 35, page authority of 46, citation flow of 34, trust flow of 16. And it looks like it has dropped off a cliff as far as a website popularity. So that's sort of the overview of information here. As we scroll down, we see the backlink profile. So active backlinks 216, looks like 149 were lost. Well, I bet they were all lost in like one day or something like that. Total backlinks all time, 613. Link distribution, mostly text. It's 85% do follow. Active link ratio, 73. We have 157 referring domains, 138 IPs, and subnets 122. We have a lot of links from Spotify, which is interesting, I guess. Those are just all the podcasts out there. We have HubSpot. So these appears to be ranked by, looks like the trust flow. Maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, let's rank it by the trust flow. So we have Spotify, we have a HubSpot, Freshdesk, we have Name Pros. That's interesting. We got Ezoic, BuzzLogic, Kajabi, Castos. All right. You got some good links out there. We got Go Banking Rates. That's kind of a new one. I got a link from Mr. Money Mustache. That's fun. Oh, Mangools. That's fun also. Larry Ludwig. All right. So quite a few links, but basically you get a good overview of the backlinks. We could scroll down, see the anchor text as well. A lot of, I guess you could look at the total. So email list is out there a bunch. I'm not sure where a lot of these came from. I did do a lot of guest posts back in the day. Oh, we have a weird spammy Windows 10 one here. All right. So as we keep scrolling down, we have top content by referring domains. So looks like no data available. Facebook shares, nothing here. And the fact is there's just not that much going on currently. So competitors. So the section here is displaying root domain scoped data. So we have Ahrefs, we have Affiliate, Authority Hacker, Niche Pursuits, AMZ Watch, Hostinger, Wallet Squirrel, Link Whisper. We have Cyber Rafting as well. So anyway, there's a list of, competitors out there based on the content, and I'm sure you can go like deep dive in certain areas. And that is it. So it gives you kind of a good overview of a site and what's going on. And you could dive a little bit deeper and get more information. So I would say probably one of the most valuable areas here would be the top referring domain. So if you were doing competition analysis, for example, you would maybe want to export this and have a look more so, right? You could go deeper into the anchor text. Very helpful. And in my case, the top content is not relevant. No one shares my stuff on there. So again, there's a full suite of tools over here. There's a free backlink checker, so we could go a little bit deeper. Let's see what we have. So you could put in, the URL. So it says one link per referring domain. And that seems good to me. So we'll just look for that. We'll look for all the links. And so before we saw the referring domains, now we'll see like the specific links. So not just the the overall referring domain, but we'll get the specific links. So we have Mangools here. We have Larry Ludwig. We have Content Refined, Wander Her Way. We have Buzz Logic. We have Website Income, Starter Story, and so on. So we see there's a lot of links, and we see the link strength here. Again, this is the proprietary sort of information. They create this metric, and it looks at things like citation flow and the trust flow and the do or no follow attributes and that sort of thing. Provides the anchor text, and here is where it would be very interesting to go and export all of this, and then you can essentially create a plan for outreach if you want to run a campaign. So for example, let's say I wanted to, compete with niche pursuits, right? I can put in a specific URL. I could find where Spencer is getting certain links from, and then I could potentially try to recreate them. I could reach out, or, sometimes that works, but I may need to pitch like another idea. Overall, it looks like a lot of these have a link strength that is fairly low, but it's good to have all these links. And speaking of Spencer, there's a link here from Niche Pursuits. We have Influencer Marketing Hub. So there's quite a few different links that I have going to the site. There are 393 total listed here. Some of them are from my own site. So like I have Doug.Cunnington.com out there as well. All right. So you can also look at like specifically new links or lost links. So lost links, maybe that is something that I want to figure out which links I lost. I would go investigate, see if they're actually lost. And then maybe I reach back out and ask them to, link to a more relevant post, or just update their link because it's broken for some reason or another. You can also filter it based on any of the metrics here in the table to make it, easier for you to analyze the data. So pretty straightforward. And this is, one of those deals, like we're talking earlier, Marcus asked, like, well, do you need SEMrush or Ahrefs? All the tools are a little bit different. A lot of them will do a very similar job. So it just depends on the functionality that you need, and not just need like once or twice, right? That you need on an ongoing basis. But you also have to look at the pricing, and that's where a tool like Mangools, where you do have like a backlink checker, it probably is not the same. It is not as big of a backlink database as Ahrefs, right? Because that's a much bigger tool, and it's a higher end tool for the backlink analysis. So my guess is, I have not compared them head to head, but my guess is Ahrefs has a bigger, more complete database of backlinks out there. However, this is probably 95% of what you need generally. So again, if you're looking at, I can get this tool, I can lock in a 35% discount for the next couple days with like Mangools, then it makes sense to, lock in the discount. The thing is, if you need reports from Ahrefs, you potentially, right, you can get a trial for a short period, or you can go to say like Fiverr. I haven't done this in a while, but I'm pretty sure you could hire someone for a gig that does have access, tell them what reports you need, and then they will pull the reports, they'll send it to you, and you'll be good to go. And you won't have to have a ongoing expensive membership to, more sophisticated tool with a bigger database. So anyway, you just have to look at what you need. Okay, let's go back. Let's answer some questions and see what's going on. Marcus says, how do you structure the keyword data and draw conclusions? I added the relevant keywords and data to Excel, but the document became so big that it's almost overwhelming. So you will have to prioritize. I think that's the root of your question, Marcus. I think the best way to approach it is to look at sort of topical clusters or content clusters, but topical areas, and really cover those thoroughly. And I think there are some great courses at Internet Marketing Gold that go through this more specifically, or Shauna Newman's set of courses. And you're able to cover the topic area very well and build authority in that topical area before moving on to the next one. From a content creation perspective, that is also easier to mentally handle. Even if you're not writing the content yourself, it will be easier to deal with if you're just focusing on like a specific topic area at a time. So again, even if you're not writing it all, it's easier just to like cover that portion first. So you're in one of those spots, Marcus. So you said you have the relevant keywords. It's in a list, it's in Excel, but it's so big that it's overwhelming. When I tell people to find keywords, I tell them, find like 20 to 50 keywords. Because the fact is, like, you're not going to be able to, most likely, you're not going to be publishing more than an article a day. Some people are aiming for like one article per week. Now we have AI, so if you're working like Shauna and she's publishing like hundreds of articles per month because it's fully automated, you might be able to publish faster. But the fact is, it's much easier to find the keywords than it is to publish the content. So there's no need for you to find more keywords until you have come close to exhausting your list. There's no point in you having 4,000 keywords if you're on, keyword number 100. You need to stop looking for keywords. You need to publish more content. So there's no real advantage to have a longer list of keywords if your bottleneck is publishing the content. And at some point, you just have to make a decision and move forward with it, knowing that you can't go back in time, as far as we know, to pick the other options that you have. So just pick the best option that you have at the time with the data that you have and move forward. Start completing things. Marcus also says that you did cluster them, but it's still overwhelming. Yep. So overall, stop finding keywords, start completing clusters. And once you get close to running out of keywords, you could find new ones. There'll be plenty out there, especially, you figured out that you found a bunch of them. So stop looking, start publishing. Board of the Lord says, niche website idea, rebuild high-end typewriters, make your own paper, send fancy letters to famous people in government, in letterboxes with wax seals, and add YouTube. That's interesting. It could be one of those with like no speaking. It just has like the audio of the typing and like the wax being imprinted. That's kind of interesting. All right. Any other questions out there? Like everyone, I'm sure we all got, 15 emails a day for the last week about the cyber deals going on. And I did create a page. There are some good discounts. Don't buy stuff you don't need, but if you need something, go for it. There are some good deals out there. some things that maybe if you were already, looking for them or something like that. Also beware that sometimes people raise their prices and then lower them. I think this is more for like physical goods. Almost all the deals that I've seen this year are actually better than they were last year and the preceding years. So this year I'm seeing like 30, 40, 50% discounts. In previous years, it was like, here's a 15 or 25% discount. So the deals on digital products are better this year than what I've seen, especially for like something like Mangools, where if you get the 35% discount, I think it's valid until the end of the month, if I remember right. It might be through next week. Check the details on the page. But basically you lock that in for the subscription. And I'm pretty sure what I recommend typically, if you know you're going to use the tool, go ahead and pay for the year, and it's a little bit cheaper anyway. And then you don't have the monthly payment. You can use this mental trick, right? You can take advantage of your cognitive bias for sunk cost. And when you pay for a tool and you're like, oh shit, I paid whatever, a couple $100 to use this tool, I better follow through and use the tool through the year. So you could use the sunk cost to actually motivate you to do the work and not procrastinate. All right. Marcus says, I'm currently trying to draw conclusions and select priorities for the clusters. And further, do you use any tools to structure keyword data to make it easier to draw conclusions? Not specifically. I am not as sophisticated in this area. However, I will be interviewing, I'm not sure how to say his name. I think it's Yayo. Do people know Yayo out there? My friend Jason, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, he introduced me. So I think Yayo, I'm just going to say his name that way. Apologies if I goof it up. So I'll be interviewing him in a week or two. And he has courses on like topical authority and topical maps and stuff like that. So I was just enrolled in his course to see what it's like. But basically, I don't know how to do anything technical with topical maps or structure the keyword data to draw conclusions. But I think that I would probably, and actually this is probably what I'm going to do for a new project that I have coming up. I'll tell everyone about it sometime soon. I will likely come up with the topics. I'll do some keyword research, of course, but probably map it out. And I'll think, how would I map this out in a book? Because I want it to be useful and intuitive, and I want to have the information in there in a way that makes sense to a normal human. And I don't really care what Google is going to do with it and rank it or any of those details, because I'm looking at something bigger than that. And I don't want to try to pander to the algorithm that may shift and change. And I'm like jumping through hoops that are unnecessary and kind of stupid. Or that's a generalization, but some of the hoops don't make sense. So I'm like, I will make this the most useful. And it takes the stress off because I'm not specifically trying to rank in Google. I don't care if it does. It'll be part of a bigger platform. So I think Yayo probably knows what he's talking about, as many other folks do. Marcus also says, I still do a lot of manual stuff. It could take 2 weeks to go through all the data and draw conclusions, make a mind map, and so and so. And you use the book format too. Yep. So at the end of the day, what this means is it actually, unfortunately, but funny enough, it does adhere to what Google is telling us they want. They're like, don't write for the search engine, write for humans. But what I'm saying is like, fuck that, right? I'm saying I'm gonna create this content in a way that I think is most helpful, and happy to rearrange it in the future if I figure out that there's a better way to present it. But I'm not trying to compete from an SEO standpoint. I'm literally trying to create the best content, which again, unfortunately, that is Google's like, don't worry about the search engine, just write for humans. Like that's what I've been saying for a few years, but really it's a mental approach so that I don't go insane with algorithm updates coming out. So, all right, I think that's about it for today. We're just going to wrap up fast here. Do check out Mangools. They have a great suite of tools. I hope you found the demo helpful. I only went through KWFinder and Link Miner, but they also have SERP Checker and SERP Watcher, as well as I think one other tool, the Site Profiler, right? So we looked at the Site Profiler to get an analysis for my site niche site project, but check it out. They have a great deal, 35% off. There's a couple other things listed in the description. Of course, there's a link to the Black Friday Cyber Monday deals page, which if you need to buy something, check it out. There are a lot of great deals. Some of them have already expired. Some of them were very short. Some last through the end of the month. If you are looking for services, especially, I think there's a new YouTube faceless channel service and a Pinterest management service over at GrowthCupid. You can save if you use my affiliate link. There's a coupon code that you can use. I forget the discount, but it's a good deal. And generally over at GrowthCupid, that's Shauna Newman's services agency, she's slowly been raising the prices. So chances are you should, if you're interested, lock in the lower rate and go ahead and get started, and you can save a little money. And of course, for all the affiliate offers that I mentioned, I might get a commission if you make a purchase, and I appreciate that. Everyone have a good week, and we'll catch you next week on the live stream.